Anxiety don'ts, things to not do. Don't shame yourself for being anxious. Don't. Notice that inner voice. Don't shame yourself for shaming yourself. That doesn't help either, okay? Don't hide it. Don't pretend like everything is okay. When we hide, we add another layer. So then we're anxious and then we're lonely, or we're anxious and we're alone, okay? Share how you're feeling with people you trust. Don't blame. Now, although there are plenty of external reasons for the way we feel, there is a point where the blame isn't useful. So I'm not suggesting the anxiety is your fault. I want you to watch for when we use blame to not have to feel it. So this might mean blaming our loved ones or blaming people around us unnecessarily, or only looking at what's going on out there and refusing to go inside, okay? Absolutely, we have to look at the reasons that people are suffering. And some of those reasons, especially people dealing with systemic trauma, systemic marginalization, prejudice, racism, ableism, etc., much of the source of their anxiety is not in their control. It is out there, right? And if that is your experience, acknowledge it, validate it, and it's disempowering to just think about the blaming part. Think about what you can reclaim for yourself while understanding what is not your fault at all, okay? So it's more about don't blame in a way that's unhelpful to you or is ultimately actually disempowering to you, okay? Don't numb. Don't numb out. Well, numb out a little bit, but do it consciously, okay? So if you know you're at risk of alcoholism or other addictions, don't go to that, because you know that that's going to, drugs, alcohol, those things can get you down a road that aren't good. Think about what are the things that feel good that you're not going to take too far. Is it like watching a couple of Netflix shows? Is it eating a small bowl of ice cream, right? Is it, conscious numbing I'm okay with. We talked about this on this last call, and I had some folks in the recovery community, sort of nodding and saying, we want to be careful, right? We don't want to go to abusing substances, but we also don't want to be so afraid of the self-care that is about checking out a little bit, right? So do it consciously, but don't think of that as self-care, right? So there's like, okay, I'm going to just numb out a little bit and watch a few episodes of Netflix or eat this yummy treat, right? And then I'm going to go deal with my feelings. So just be honest with yourself, okay? So what are some of the do's on the list for our anxiety? So number one, be compassionate with yourself. Sit with yourself as you would sit a loved one. These are overwhelming times. Talk about it. Talk about it with people you trust. Talk about it with people who aren't going to immediately think they have to fix it. With people who can sit with you. And sometimes our loved ones need some instructions, right? Sometimes I will say to my partner, I just need to tell you how I feel. I don't need you to fix it, and I don't need any advice. Can you just listen to me? Can you just validate how I feel? I will literally just give him the instructions of what I need. Don't sacrifice your sleep. So I know with anxiety, sleep can be hard, and sometimes we just get on this train of go, go, go. So really think about your sleep hygiene. Because if you haven't slept well, your nervous system is not going to be able to handle this stuff, okay? So think about what you need to do to sleep. You can develop some sleep rituals where you're getting off devices, you're maybe reading a book, doing a little yoga. You can use some of the practices this month. There's the neck opener practice that can be done before sleep, and there's the restorative yoga practice. You can pick one or two of those poses if you don't want to do the whole thing, and you can do that before sleep to let your nervous system wind down so that you sleep well, okay? Make sure there's no phones or computers in your bedroom and that you're able to have silence. I need a sound machine to sleep, otherwise the silence is like too loud. Use essential oils, bring out your crystals, whatever it takes to create a sleep ritual that ushers you to sleep, okay? Watch your caffeine intake. For a lot of people, that'll kick up your anxiety. And here's an interesting one. come to terms with who you would be if you weren't anxious. So if you've historically struggled with anxiety, or if it's really coming up now in a way that feels like it's like embedded in your identity, think about that. And like for me, I was raised by like a pretty anxious mom, and we came from Lebanon and dealt with war, and she had reasons to be anxious, but I also know that a lot of my identity is caught up in my anxiety and my hypervigilance. I don't really fully know how to be a person who's like super chill. I'm not really good at it. And I'm doing a lot of unpacking about like, who would I be if I wasn't like always thinking about what needed to be fixed and what the kids needed to eat, and those are the low grade anxiety things. But I know that I'm a little bit attached to it. Like I kind of take pride in it a little bit. So who would you be if you didn't have your anxiety? Notice in your body how that feels. Is it exciting? Is it like, ugh, I don't know. Do you have associations with those people who aren't anxious? Who would you be? And then the last piece I want to talk about is thinking about your anxiety symbolically or archetypally. So if your anxiety had a face, if it was a person, what would it look like? How would it speak to you? What would it say? And if you were to ask your anxiety, what do you need from me? What might it say? We can think about our anxiety as a part of our psyche that needs our attention. When we are trying to avoid our anxiety, it will get worse. It will get worse. Our anxiety is calling on us to face it.